Hello everyone and welcome back to Entertainment Unscripted. My name's Mia Fernandez and in today's episode, I'll be speaking with Aidan Brooks. Aidan is a recent UCLA graduate who currently works at Treefort Media. We'll discuss his journey as a fellow Bruin making his way in the industry. All right, Aidan, thank you so much for being here today. So we met at UCLA's Entertainment Networking Night, and even through our brief conversation, I feel like I learned a lot from you, so I just wanted to have you on here.
Thanks.
Yeah. help our listeners. Yeah, exactly. As a fellow Bruin, too. Great. So just before we get into everything, I like to ask my guest, what led you to the media and entertainment industry?
Yeah. I think I've always been a big fan of TV, movies. And I had one really good teacher in high school who who had a lot of entertainment experience. He was a screenwriter for years. Him and his sons did that show, Wild Wild Country on Netflix, that documentary.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
So after that, I just went, okay, I want to do this. And I was talking to a family friend, and they knew the former executive producer of Jimmy Kimmel.
Really?
And and she invited me to come and watch an episode. And I got to sit in the control room, and I got to watch it go as it goes. And she went, okay, all right, now there's going to be a little break. We're going to have the musical guest. And then takes me into this other room. Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20 is playing. There's a whole audience. Everybody's there. And after that day, I went, oh my God, this is somebody's job. Like, this is what somebody does for a living.
Yeah.
Like, they watch Jimmy Kimmel, they obviously work, and then they have the opportunity to see incredible performers play. So since then, I've kind of been like, okay, anything I can do to do this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that was when I was 15 or 16, and then since then, I've just been trying to be on that path as much as possible.
Yeah. I'd say that's a really great introduction to the industry.
Yeah, right?
That's a great story,
right?
Yeah. Did you do anything in high school after that?
Yeah. After that, I did it was an unpaid internship at CBS where I worked on this one development for this one show. It was a sizzle reel for a show that was kind of like a knockoff of Dr. Phil, kind of. And it was shot at the Radford Studios, CBS. Which is a beautiful lot, and so many cool things have shot there. I think Big Brother still shoots there. Brooklyn Nine-Nine was shooting there at the time. And so I got to just kind of be a fly on the wall. And just, like, some days my only job was to put the staplers and make sure that they're straight, you know? But then other days I would go and get to hang around with the producers and drive around the golf carts and go watch as the show was undergoing. And just being on a set propelled me to go, okay, reinforce what I want to do. And once I got into college, I just tried to do more and more of that. Yeah. I made films in high school, but I was directing, and I realized sooner than later that wasn't my path, and that producing was going to be something that was more aligned with my interests.
Interesting. At the CBS internship, were you a production assistant? Or was
I was just an intern.
Oh,
I was just an intern, yeah.
Got it.
So I wasn't doing any of the hands-on work that I'd later be doing as a PA in years to come. Yeah.
But it seems like good exposure to the industry, at least.
It was great. I mean, any opportunity in the industry is fantastic. Yeah. So especially when you're that young, pre-college, and somebody gives you a chance, it's great.
Yeah. So after that, how did you decide to go to UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, so UCLA has been my dream school since I was a little kid. I used to do Dribble for the Cure, the event that they have in October, with all basketball players and raising money for pediatric cancer. So I've been coming to UCLA since I was a little kid. I grew up in the area, and I always knew this is where I wanted to be. And then I heard about the World Arts and Cultures program here and realized that was going to be perfect for what I want to do. It's kind of an interdisciplinary program in which, I took classes from stand-up comedy to acting to interviewing to documentary filmmaking, all the things that I was interested in, I got to kind of play with and explore. Yeah. That I didn't really get. I was also a film minor, but, it's not just, it's not limited. And it was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we had Like a stand-up comedy class or?
It happened one time, 3 years ago, and that was it, and it never happened again.
Yeah. The stars aligned for you.
It did. It did. It gave me no credit. I don't think I got any requirements, nothing for it, but it was fun.
That's okay. It's experience.
Exactly. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Cool. Yeah. It sounds like some really amazing classes. What about extracurriculars?
Yeah. So I was in a fraternity for a year here, but the main thing I did while at UCLA was a part of the Student Alumni Association here, and mostly spring sing. That was the big thing. So my freshman year, it was the COVID year. There was nothing. There was nothing going on.
Yeah.
And I heard about this thing called Spring Sing. They needed a production crew, and it was my first time I actually had a reason to be on campus besides just being bored and walking around when nobody was here. So I got to go and film these really cool videos with these incredible actors and comedians, and now they've gone on to do really cool things. Really excited for all of them. It's really cool to follow along with what they're doing. But I got to be just the guy who was, filming some videos, editing some videos, needed to recharge a battery. I was the guy that would go and do that. And then I realized, okay, I want to keep staying involved with this. So my sophomore year, I joined SAA with the sole intent to become the production coordinator of the show, and did that. That was really fun. And then junior year took a break, and then senior year became the executive director of Spring Sing.
Wow, nice.
For a great show that never happened.
Okay.
It was unfortunately canceled.
Oh,
but, yeah.
What is there a reason why?
Yeah, it was while the protests were going on.
Oh, okay.
So while we had come up with a plan to go forward with it, the school ultimately decided that it was not going to be safe to put on.
Right.
So it was canceled outside of our
Yeah. How was the planning process? Because you went through the whole process, right? So how was that?
Yeah, it was great. Company, there's the comedy group. They were incredible. They made some really funny sketches that are on YouTube now, but I wish could have seen more of an audience.
Yeah.
We had incredible music guests, and the most exciting thing was throughout the whole year, I was in talks and finally booked Dave Grohl to come and receive an award.
Wow.
And come and receive it live. Yeah. And he was all set to do so, and then he didn't get to. So we ended up, I had dropped it off at his manager's office, and if you check out his Wikipedia page, it's a little paragraph on there. But
there you go.
Yeah,
it exists.
It exists. It's a real thing. It's not a lie.
Yeah.
But it would have been cool to hand it to him in person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, you never know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anything else you did on campus, or anything maybe you wish you did or you recommend students doing who want to be in this industry? Yeah,
I feel like while you're in college, especially UCLA, it's in LA, you can do so many things at once.
Yeah.
And the kids that choose to, I think my class was special in that way that we were so bored that first year.
Yeah.
I was so bored that I was doing the readings. I think that's how you know. I did all the readings. I was a great student.
You can admit it now that you graduated.
Yeah, exactly. I could admit it then. But, you have all this opportunity to do really great things. And there's, especially if you want to do something in entertainment, what you're doing right now, this is something that you could be doing. Student Alumni Association, CEC, UCLA Radio. There's all these different opportunities that you can do, and some of them are really hard to get into. But you have this at your disposal, and if you don't want to do any of those things, you could just do your own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have so many resources on campus. Yeah. Even like the alumni, the networking night, that's a great opportunity. Obviously, that's how we met.
Yeah.
And did you feel that was like a little bit full circle since you were in the Alumni Association setting things up and you came back to help out?
Oh, for sure. That time the year before, I was being yelled at by an agent who was like, I can't be at the same table as that guy. I need my own table.
Yeah.
So to be on the other side of it and get a table and get to talk to people and have people interested in talking to me was cool. It was fun, It's cool to be on that side. So 100%. And I got to meet some really cool people, and we actually hired an intern from it. So
really? That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and she's been great. So it's
nice.
It's been really cool. It was really successful. Yeah.
Yeah. I had fun. I met a lot of cool people.
I'm glad.
Definitely recommend. Yeah.
Yeah. Next year, anyone listening, go to it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Entertainment Networking Night.
You're gonna be coming back next year, you think?
Oh, for sure. If I'm in LA, I'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. All right. So you graduated 2024.
Yeah, I graduated in March of 2024, so one quarter early. Yeah.
Yeah. About a year ago.
How
does it feel, 1 year post-grad?
It was weird. I mean, I was walking on campus to get here, and it's weird because it's dark out, so everybody looks like somebody that I know really, really well.
Yeah.
And I would go and I do the thing where you look at somebody and you go like, oh no, that's not. They graduated,
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's like going back to your high school, like after you go, it's just like the same feeling. It doesn't go away. You're like, oh, this was fun. And that's really it.
All the memories.
Exactly.
You started as an intern at Treefort, is that correct?
Yeah.
Treefort Media. Did that immediately flow into a job after graduating?
It did. So I started interning at Treefort. I did one internship after my sophomore year somewhere else, and then I did the internship at Treefort after my junior year. That summer, and I came in with like an intern class of, I think there was like 5 or 6 of us, and they said, hey, if you want to stay on through the school year, we'd love to have you. I'm like, okay, great. So I stayed on as an intern working on our flagship talk show at the time, Paul Giamatti's CHINWAG. And I remained as an intern from, I guess I started in June as an intern and then stayed as an intern until the next June, where they offered me a full-time position after college.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. How was it balancing the internship while being in school?
It was pretty, I was a world arts and cultures major. So I was not STEM. I was not, cramming for exams or doing those things. And I also found a lot of ways to take lighter course loads when I could. So I was only doing 10, 12 hours a week. So it was pretty standard. And I was just sending off, we'd have really cool guests come on the show, and I'd just do research packets, send them off so that our host can take a look at them and learn a little before them. But it was pretty contained in my role, and it was nice. It was nice to just have like one thing to focus on, 10 hours a week, do it, get a little paid too, which was nice, and exactly, and focus on spring sing and all the other things I was doing. And by the time I graduated, it felt like I felt very prepared to continue on.
That's good. Yeah, because it can be a little scary going into post-grad, and if you don't have something lined up, it's like, what am I going to do? The future's so unsure, so... Yeah, it's nice that you had...
Especially in entertainment right now. It's not easy to find a job. And I have friends that are very qualified for things, and, we're not even able to get interviews. Yeah. So it's tricky. And especially, exactly. To have that comfort is really nice.
Yeah, the industry's changing.
It's changing. Yeah. It's moving out of LA. It's scary.
Yeah. So you just mentioned you also did an internship after your sophomore year. What was that for? Yeah,
that was for the Late Show.
With Stephen Colbert.
Nice. So that was really fun. That was really fun. I got to be in New York for a summer. I came with like an intern class of 15, and a lot of us have stayed really close since. Yeah. And they're all doing really cool things now, and it was a fantastic program. They got to rotate us around to different departments, and you really felt like you were involved in the show, and everybody there was just so nice to the interns, which tells you something.
Yeah, good work culture.
Oh, for sure. And they gave us a lot of responsibility, too, So it was nice. And then eventually they brought me back as an interim PA to train the following class.
Okay, nice.
So that was a blast. So I specialized in the talent department there, and got to show those interns around who are, I think some of them still work at the show, some of them are doing other things, comedy. A lot of them are doing comedy. It's really cool. Yeah.
Is Stephen Colbert comedy?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's a Second City till he had a show in Comedy Central, and then so it was great. I mean, they even give us opportunities to get a joke on the air too.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get one?
I got one.
Nice.
I got one joke.
That's a huge accomplishment, I'd say.
Yeah, it was fun.
That's exciting. Cool. I also saw that you did a Fox internship. Pictionary production assistant.
Pictionary production assistant.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so there's a show, I think it's still running on Fox and syndication. Pictionary, it's exactly what it sounds like. Yeah. It is Pictionary. It's hosted by Jerry O'Connell, and that was my first PA job. So I did that the year before, my summer after my freshman year. I did a few PA gigs, and that one shot up in Pacoima, and we did an entire season of Pictionary in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So
how many episodes was it? Do you remember?
It had to be upwards of, I think, around 20.
Really?
20
In 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Wow.
So we would do about 5 a day. No, maybe it was 40. Yeah, because if we did 2 weeks of...
That's a big
I don't
jump.
remember. Yeah, no, but we would do up to 5 episodes a day.
Wow. That was many hours, I'm sure.
You know, honestly, not too crazy.
Really?
For a PA gig, it was pretty much, it wasn't sun up to sundown. So, that's how you know.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it would be regular morning time, and I think we ended at a reasonable time, too. So it was pretty, considering that we did sometimes up to 5 episodes a day, it was not too crazy. No.
Okay, nice.
No, and it was fun.
How does that production assistant job compare to the ones that you've done on the other shows?
Yeah, I mean, it was very similar to the one I did afterwards. It was a show called Legends of the Hidden Temple. Mm-hmm. Show for the CW based off of the Nickelodeon game show from the 90s. Okay. Ran only 1 season, but it depends. I mean, Pictionary was shot at a soundstage. Mm-hmm. So it actually shot right next to the soundstage for Insecure. So it was all self-contained. You know, it was COVID times, so there was a lot of COVID compliance work. Yeah. You know, making sure, for lunches it wasn't one long table. It was everybody got their own individual table. Yeah. And usually one PA had to go and set that up. Wow. So there's a lot of those other kinds of things that came into play with it. Because COVID was so new and trying to figure out how to keep working while that's going on. Mm-hmm. But the following show was it was shot in Simi Valley. There was a moat. There was a castle. That one, it felt like being a camp counselor because I specialize with contestants. So it was like getting them to point A to point B for up to like a week at a time with no phones. Wow. So they became best friends, and they're still best friends. I see through Instagram and stuff. Yeah. So
that's wholesome.
Completely different show. Yeah. Pictionary, you have contestants come in for, 30, 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Legends of the Hidden Temple was a whole week that they had to hang out and do obstacles and climb castles and jump into water and, do crazy things. Yeah. So very, very different. But I feel like that's kind of what game shows and competition shows are. Every single thing is going to be different. Were
all of your production assistant opportunities on set?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think typically, as PAs are just production assistants are just, versus like if Warner Bros. Was hiring, they would probably hire an executive assistant unless they had a project where they needed that person. I think that's usually pretty rare. But for those PA gigs, exactly, it was just on that one show. And because of that, you're hired by the production company, not necessarily you're not getting your paychecks from Fox or from CW. Right. You're getting it from Red Rocket Productions or who knows. I just made that up. But that kind of thing. So it's a little different there. Yeah. But your pathway is different depending on if you're in an office or versus on a show. It's a completely different trajectory. I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. And for these positions, were they all like cold apply, or how did you even find them? Did you know somebody? Yeah, I've found that in kind of going from job to job, my strategy has just been telling everybody I know when it's applicable what I want to be doing. Okay. And the more that I've been able to tell people, hey, I want to be doing this, or I want to be doing this. Oh, you know what? My patient did this. Let me tell you. Oh, my neighbor used to do, Yeah, right. And kind of getting those kinds of like just putting it out there, just seeing what comes back. Mm-hmm. At least for the first one, I got in touch with the EP at Pictionary, and he had me on, and we had a call and we had an interview and everything like that, and he liked me, and we still stay in touch. But for the next gig, I did a few favors on that show for one of the producers that would become the producer on Legends of the Hidden Temple. Wow! So he saw me, and then he was like, "Oh, hey, why don't you come on to the next one?" Nice. And then for the Late Show, I cold applied, and it happened to be that the person in the hiring position was a fan of the original Legends of the Hidden Temple game show as a kid. Wow. And I have a feeling he just wanted to talk to me about that. Yeah. But it got me an interview. Right. So you never really know it's a lot of luck. Yeah. Each one of these times was just luck.
Maybe it was meant to be, though.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah,
knock on wood.
Yeah,
it's been going well. It's been going well.
It's like some subtle networking, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. We've all met those kids that are, like a little too much about it, I remember there was a class that I had, like a film class, and I was talking to a friend of mine, she just got an internship at a really cool comedy production company. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then this kid in the row in front of us went, oh, wait, you're working on that? Oh, let me... And then comes and sits down next to us, wants to be a part of our group, and you're like, all right, dude, she's just all right, you don't want to be that guy. Exactly. You don't want to be that guy. But if you can be, it's all like using your judgment. It's a conversational thing.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt. Exactly. It can't hurt. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for internship search in college?
It's tough because it's like, even after, I'll give you an example, the Late Show, we met with recruiters at Paramount, and they told us, now that you're a part of Paramount Global family, you got it in. You're at least going to get an interview.
Yeah.
And I think the following summer I applied to 15 Paramount internships thinking like, okay, this is where I want to focus.
Yeah.
And I don't think I got an interview at more than one of those.
Really?
So, yeah. So it's really tough. But I think it's the people that I know that, just apply to as many things as possible. And then I think on the side of that too, just telling as many people as you can and going to networking nights and talking to people. I mean, that's where those internships are a lot easier to come by because at least you talk to somebody. And that's what we did. We hired somebody from that because, oh, I know her. She told me about what she does. Great. She's really good at that. And she has been great. So it's a lot safer to do that too. So I also think cold reach outs don't hurt.
Yeah.
On
Through
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. The worst that something can happen is that you don't get a response.
Yeah.
But I just remember at that time being like, oh, they're going to think I'm stupid or I'm going to say the wrong thing or, nobody is. Nobody cares. Nobody's thinking about anything else. So I think just kind of putting all your eggs out there and just hoping that one of them hatch,
Yeah.
That's weird. I don't know. I've never said that before.
I've never heard that, but
I don't think it's a thing.
Though. It's a thing now. It worked.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go to all eggs in one basket. I was like...
That's where I was going, and then I went, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I like that, though. Yeah, hatch,
yeah. Because when your eggs hatch, then you get the job.
All right. So since you've worked with live productions through is Springsteen live production?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Live.
Yeah. So you've worked with live productions. You've done recorded with live audiences, Stephen Colbert, right?
Yeah.
And now you're doing podcasting, which is pre-recorded. How do those differ, those different types of productions, and do you have a favorite?
Yeah, it's a good question. I still love live. Live is really fun. It's stressful. It's high energy. But I think I can go into podcasts. I mean, they differ too. I mean, there's not, I'll focus on Paul Giamatti's CHINWAG, for example. So most of those episodes were through Zoom.
Really?
So pre-recorded through Zoom, and that way it lends us to get really good guests. We've got some awesome guests on that show because it's, they hop on a Zoom for 30 minutes. Or an hour or 2 hours if, some did. But, we also did live episodes. We went on tour and did that whole thing last year, and we shot an episode at Dynasty Typewriter with Paul there and our co-host Steven, and we had Bill Hader as our guest. And,
nice.
And it was fun, and we did the whole thing live, and it was hilarious, and it's my favorite episode because it's so funny, and the audience is really thriving and reacting. It's just when a live event comes together, I don't think there's anything better.
Yeah.
Than that feeling of just seeing work that you've put in, just kind of, okay, cool. And you get to see that instant response versus a few comments on your YouTube page later.
Right. Wow, I didn't realize that you did the live tour. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, we did an LA show, a Seattle show, Harvard, Boston, and I am blanking. Oh, New York. We did one in New York too. But I was only at the LA one. I was still an intern at that phase. I was still an intern. But I did definitely help with the production stuff for the LA show, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's fun. So do you work remote if you do like Zoom?
Yeah, primarily. So the main thing that we've been doing recently, now that unfortunately CHINWAG ended, we had our 100th and final episode.
I saw that was the 2-hour one?
The 2-hour. I think the final WAG is what we called it. So since then, we've been doing we've been doing a few Audible originals. We just finished production on one. And that one differs too. We'll a few weeks ago we recorded remotely with we had some actors zooming in from LA, some actors zooming in from New York, and one actor zooming in from Vancouver, all on the same day.
Nice. And
some of them were recording together, even though they're in different states. But we did those at recording studios and booked time, at different ones, and did a whole multicast recording that way.
Wow.
So it really differs. There's a lot of creative flexibility. You can do it in studio like this. You can do it at a recording studio if you don't need video. Do it on Zoom. People have a good setup. You can do it in their closet. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, you really have all those options. So
yeah.
It's cool.
That's what, podcasting is pretty diverse. And I feel like, did CHINWAG do video podcasts as well?
We never did video. If you look on the YouTube, there's a lot of demands for video, and I always felt bad. We didn't, but we would sometimes take clips out and put them out there. But it's just editing video is a whole different medium.
Right.
We just did a video podcast for Netflix called State Secrets, the making of The Electric State.
Oh, yeah, that new movie.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So we did that one. And, for that one, we have to have a video editor come in and do that. And, you edit video first and then go to audio. Rather than a show like CHINWAG, where I would just go in and edit it like it's a Google Doc in a software called Descript.
Yeah.
So it's a very different production process.
Right.
Where you edit audio after if it's video, and you have to edit video before. So.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't know if you noticed this as well, but I feel like I'm noticing video podcasts gaining popularity.
Oh, yeah.
Especially amongst like influencers and actors, whoever it may be.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if a big actor, for example, I saw Amy Poehler just launched a podcast, and it's great. It's really good. But it's video, and it's in studio, and it's more of a talk show, and it seems like talk shows are moving into that direction.
Yeah.
Amy Poehler is somebody who I think 10 years ago, Fox or CBS would go, hey, we want you to fill a slot and do a talk show. But now it's more lucrative and it's easier to just do a podcast.
Yeah. So. And that's like something I've been debating, and you can, if you have opinions, happy to hear it. What's the line between a video podcast and like a TV show or a talk show?
It's blurring. Yeah. It's really blurring. Because we had a lot of conversation about that with the podcast we did for The Electric State, because the production of that is the same as a TV show.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a documentary series in a way. That is also replacing the former. When you had like Blu-ray and you had like the video commentary on it. That you don't have that anymore. So now you have companion podcasts. So, but we do it like it's a TV show. So it's really blurring. It's really, really blurring. In that sense.
Yeah. So I didn't even ask you about Treefort. What does Treefort do, and what do you do there?
Yeah. I can definitely go into that. So I after college I became a production coordinator there, and then after a few months I got moved up to associate producer. So my role it's usually no day is similar to the one before. But for a while, I was specializing at Paul Giamatti's CHINWAG, and we had a few personnel changes, so I got to have a pretty elevated role in that. I was editing the show. I was doing research packets. I started designing all the cover art that we did. So the last like 20 episodes, all the cover art I did. Wow. Having no graphic design experience, just kind of figured it out.
Yeah, went for it.
And just went for it, figured out Photoshop, watched a few YouTube videos, and went, okay, I can do this. So I got to do that and got to be in charge of, the release calendar and suggesting when we should do which episode and when and how long, and should we cut these into two, and really starting to kind of help make really cool decisions, working with really talented producers that we have. To kind of figure out what the best way to release these were. Yeah. And I was also in charge of the RSS feed, so that means that I was posting on, especially like you guys are, on Spotify and Apple Pods and YouTube and creating social media videos. And so that was really my main role at the company for a long time, was kind of helping to continue on that ship of CHINWAG. And then now it's shifted a bit. It's definitely shifted. Now that the show's over, I'm doing different things. So, yeah,
that's exciting.
It's cool.
And I took a look at the cover art. It's really interesting. Yeah, that's like amazing that you didn't have any experience, because they're very, kind of, it's like very
wacky.
branded. Yeah. They're very abstract. They're very interesting. How did you just practice on your own, and then like how was that?
Yeah, a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
I think for it too, I had a really good template to go with, because we worked with a really talented artist named Alex Sokol, who was really instrumental in kind of creating the visual identity for the show.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of animations and all the art before. So I saw that and I went, okay, I'm going to try to embody this as much as possible, with each thing. And as I got more comfortable, I started, okay, I could Photoshop in a face. There's a few episodes where there's no faces, no Paul Giamatti in there. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get a little more creative. I'm gonna do that and start taking more risks and having more fun creating the monsters that are in there. And it's a really esoteric, eccentric show. So I try to make the covers kind of embody that. But that was my favorite. That was fun. Yeah, it was fun to do that.
I think it worked out really. There definitely was like a theme going on for sure.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So in a podcast like that, where it's connected to a very well-known actor, and I know there was a philosopher as well as a host.
Yeah, Stephen Asma.
Yeah. Is the branding of that something that the team handles, or is that something that usually like the host kind of puts their input and then you guys kind of build onto it?
I think that's it. That's it. You kind of described it. I mean, the show, I came on probably there had probably been about 10, 15 episodes before I came on to the show. But yeah, that brand identity is definitely worked with talent and the producers at Treefort and Paul Giamatti's producing partner, Dan Carey, and the series producer, Rachel Whitley Bernstein, and all these different people that I think put that together. And so I look back at Dex and I can see that it definitely, they wanted to have that esoteric, kind of weird feel for it. And that's something that you come up with really early in the process.
How do you effectively build a brand for maybe a podcast specifically? Yeah,
it's a great question. I mean, every podcast we do, we're not just in production, we also do development as well. So we do a lot of pitches to Audible, to iHeart, to Wondery, all the major players out there. And for that, you can't just go in with an audio sample,
Right.
You can't just go in with a write-up or a deck. So what usually happens is if we come up with the idea ourselves, we'll do all that stuff. But a lot of times we'll just have somebody come to us and want to set a meeting. And maybe they have a written deck, maybe they have a few photos, but then we kind of take it from there and kind of further develop it and create that brand that you're discussing. And we create a really nice, classy pitch deck and show what it would look like, even envision what this could look like possibly in your podcast app, create the icon itself so that, whoever we're pitching it to can go, oh, okay, yeah, I know what it is. I know what it's going to look like. Let's do it like that. But yeah, everything that we pitch, we're also creating a brand. So it's a really good question. Yeah.
Is that, you have to create, I guess, a brand per episode, or you mean by series?
So CHINWAG was unique in that we had created a brand per episode, where I'd really figure out what the color scheme, what did this, all that, all that kind of stuff. While I'm editing the episode, take notes, write the episode description and go, okay, how are we going to craft around this and make it engaging? Good title, this. So that's a unique show, and you're creating a brand per episode. I'd say most shows and most podcasts out there, cover art is typically simple or the same per episode. And, it's usually one. CHINWAG was a unique beast in that way.
And it's interesting that you were able to effectively create a brand per episode, but it also was consistent amongst all the episodes as well.
Yeah, that was the goal. That was the goal. I try to keep that same visual style. So it's the goal. You're trying to do it, but it's we have a general color scheme that we can go with and we kind of dive into, but you're trying to kind of make it fun each time and engaging and playing around with what works and what doesn't, and trial and error. Yeah.
Well, it seems like you still work a lot in production. How does that compare to like maybe being a production assistant?
So it depends. So I've been an associate producer on a few shows now, and it's different. The role is completely different per show. For the Electric State show that we did, it was about, scheduling and interviews and creating and, booking the catering order, all the little things in there that you kind of work through. CHINWAG, it was a lot more hands-on. It was really kind of crafting each episode. But for these Audible shows, it's been trying to figure out all facets of production. Yeah. Booking talent, dealing with their reps, and making sure that they have their contracts, making sure that they have everything they need, making sure they have food, making sure that all things are, if they need a car service, looking into their contracts and seeing what exactly they need, how many days are they booked for. Some actors are you can only work with for 2 days per their contract. Yeah. Some you can work with 4 as long as it takes to get done. Yeah. So it's about kind of trying to balance all that to get a show done in a way that comes out great, leaves everyone happy, and doesn't spend an abundance of production money. Yeah. So that's been kind of my job on this last show and this other one going forward. So it's very different per show. And that's, I think, the thing about production is that every show, your title does not necessarily mean you're going to be doing this one. Yeah. It just means it's kind of your level in the production. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So the show, you said show moving forward, is that more of the Electric State? No, yeah. So we just wrapped production on one show for Audible, and then we're in, I guess, pre-production right now on another show. Can you tell us about it yet? I unfortunately can't. Okay. I can't. We're still, our writers just finished the scripts, so we're just kind of taking a look at it and getting trying to think about casting, that kind of thing. But because it's not been announced by Audible yet, can't say anything about it. We'll keep an eye out. Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, for sure. It's exciting. It's exciting. We got one good name attached to it too already. Okay. So said about them, and so it's yeah. How was your experience working with talent? I've had a uniquely, how do I say this? I think coming into the industry, you kind of hear stories that everybody is a nightmare and everybody's this and I've only had great experiences, which I'm going to knock on wood for. Yeah. But I would say that working with talent has been great. I think the Late Show really prepared me for that. Yeah. My a lot of days there, my job was to welcome talent and make sure that their green room was set up. If they needed to know where the bathroom was, I was the guy. If they needed water, if they needed vodka, if they needed whatever, I was the guy to figure that out and get that for them. So I got to hang out backstage, while you're, doing any sort of interview, you're nervous, and especially, coming onto a big show like that, some of them were live. So I got to be around a lot of very, very cool talent and big celebrities and politicians, and got to see how to really interact with them. So that now when I'm doing these shows, I'm coming in as an associate producer, but, there's no production assistant in studio. So when the catering order comes, I'm not just putting it on the counter. I'm laying it out all nice. Yeah. I'm making sure that the things are cold or in the fridge. Even though that is I don't know. It's just I realized that any little thing you can do goes a long way. And just kind of trying to take those things that I learned to just kind of put on that customer service hat, I guess, whenever you're with talent, and just try to be that person that is and it pays dividends to do that. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. How was it working with Paul specifically? It was great. I mean, we met in person only once because we did that episode in LA. Right. So I got to spend some time there. But he was great. I mean, he's so enthusiastic about this stuff, and the knowledge that he had, most people know him as an actor, but he has an encyclopedic knowledge of anything history, any book he's read, Yeah. So for him, he just wanted to talk about all that stuff. He didn't want to talk about, his roles or his this. He wanted to focus on that really cool stuff. So he was great and super nice, and so was Steven too. And Steven's working with us on a project that we're currently doing called Story Rabbit. We just got nominated for Webby, so that's exciting. Yeah,
congrats!
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So it's a mobile app that he does that he's a voice on. So
that's part of Treefort, like that.
Yeah,
really.
We've gotten into the AI space.
Oh,
so Story Rabbit is our way in there.
Wow!
And it's essentially an app where you, based on your location, you get an option to different genres.
Mm-hmm.
You tap that, and it'll tell you an AI generated story based on whatever that is. So Steven's the monster guide.
Wow.
You want to learn about monster stories around Westwood, you tap on that, and it's like it'll generate podcasts for you live for that.
Wait, and he's the voice of it?
And he's the voice of it.
Wow, it's like a Siri.
Yeah,
exactly. Storytelling.
It's a storytelling Siri. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Have you seen AI come into the space in any other ways?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I mentioned the audio editor that we use, Descript.
Yeah.
What it does is it uses AI to transcribe every podcast, so you can edit it like it's a Google Doc.
Yeah.
AI for editing social media videos using things like CapCut. CapCut's great; generates captions as you go.
Yeah.
For Story Rabbit, for the promos we do there, we use visuals generated from Sora, which does AI generated visuals.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of AI tools, and of course, you try the AI audio editor, and it goes, "Whoa, this sounds really good," but then it takes out all laughter. So there's these really awkward pauses.
Yeah.
So things aren't 100% there yet, but it's cool to see what's coming, and a lot of these make our lives easier. So you can put a script into a GPT and say, "Hey, remind me when does this character talk about this?" I'm trying to look for it in the script. I can't find it. It'll tell you, and then you go in the script and go, "Oh, okay, it's there."
Yeah. Wow.
So there's a lot of those kinds of things that help speed up your day, and just there's infinite uses. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to see where it's gonna get. It feels like it developed really fast.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's just gonna exponentially keep going.
I agree. But I think it's gonna be the folks that know how to use it and know how to use it to advance themselves and their projects without it taking away jobs from talent or whatnot.
Right.
Are going to be the people that benefit from it. So
yeah.
It's I'm really glad that we're already in the space because we don't have to be the ones left behind.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. Wow. All right. Well, just to wrap us up here.
Yeah.
Do you have any lessons that you've learned? Any advice that you can give to our listeners or our fellow Bruins listening?
Yeah. I think when it comes to entertainment, you always want to be the guy that can do everything. I've gotten some bad advice that was be really, really good at one thing.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because graphic designers are getting left in the dust because they don't know, because now people can use AI tools and create visual art themselves.
Right.
So I found that anytime there's an opportunity for me to go and learn something new, we had for example, CHINWAG. We decided we don't want to go with the same cover art and cover artist, and I said, okay, I can do it. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But I knew I could figure it out. And now I'm introduced to meetings as, this is Aidan. He kind of just does everything.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to be, because the thing about production is shows end. And you want to be the guy that gets kept on so that you can do the next job even if you don't know how to do it. You want to be the guy that can show people that you can figure it out.
Yeah.
So just learning as much as you can and saying yes to every opportunity, everything, even if you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I have one regret, and I will never make that mistake again. And it was, I got offered to be a van driver on a really cool game show. And I said, I don't know how to drive a van. I'm not good at driving big cars. So I said no.
Yeah.
But it would have been cool. I could have figured it out.
Yeah.
So
just say yes.
Just within reason. Yeah. Say yes. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Great advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Aidan. That was really awesome. I learned so much again.
This was really fun.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of Entertainment Unscripted. If you want to hear from more amazing individuals in the media and entertainment industry, make sure to tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and dailybruin.com. And follow Daily Bruin and Daily Bruin Podcast on Instagram to be the first to know when a new episode premieres.